Happy 200th birthday, Virginia Eliza Clemm Poe. Over the last several months, we have delved into the hidden history of Edgar Allan Poe's beloved wife and muse, and how her life and death changed literary history. Over the weekend, guests celebrated the Virginia Poe Bicentennial at a Gothic Tea Party and reception, commemoration and concert at Westminster Hall Burying Ground in Baltimore, Maryland. Guests dressed in the most wonderful costumes in Victorian-era garb for the occasion, and we were treated to special presentations by Baltimore's own Dan Meyer Choir, Dean Knight from the Poe Museum, Richmond, Debbie Phillips in an extraordinary living history presentation as Virginia Poe herself, and a preview of Edgar Allan Poe's Blood, Sweat, and Fears, a production from the National Edgar Allan Poe Theater. Reverend Claire Petersberger from the Towson Unitarian Universalist Church gave a special convocation, and Hurst Hesse, board president from Poe Baltimore, presided at the official wreath-laying at Virginia and Edgar's grave. We hope you enjoy some of the highlights from this very special day.
So 200 years ago, on August 15, 1822, Virginia Eliza Clemm was born here in Baltimore. She was named after her sister, Virginia Maria Clemm, who had only recently died at the age of 2. Mortality was Virginia's constant companion. Her father died when she was 4. She outlived her 2 brothers. Her grandmother died when she was 13, and she became the wife of her cousin Edgar, who also lived in a context of mourning. He had been orphaned as a child. His boyhood friend's mother, Mrs. Standard, to whom Edgar had become very attached, also died young. His foster mother, Frances Allen, a nurturing parent figure, died as Poe was entering adulthood. It is reported by Lambert A. Wilmer that one day, walking with Virginia and Edgar, they came to a churchyard where a funeral was in progress, and Virginia began to weep, and Edgar joined her, although they were total strangers to the deceased. 200 years later, we do not live with as great a day-to-day awareness of our mortality as Virginia had. Could Virginia Eliza Clemm Poe, before her own death at the age of 24, have imagined today's gathering? If you project forward 200 years from your own birth date, what familiar objects do you hope will survive you? How will you be remembered, and by whom? What do you hope your legacy will be? The only fully authenticated portrait of Virginia Clemm Poe is the post-mortem portrait Edgar Allan Poe commissioned for his wife, even though he didn't wish to see her after she died. He is reported to have refused to look at her coffin. Post-mortem portraits, such as the one of Virginia in your program, are not common now, nor is clipping and saving the hair of the deceased, black-bordered calling cards, or wearing black armbands for a period of time, rituals of grieving, which Edgar Allan Poe is described as having engaged in after Virginia's death. So we do not know if Virginia would have wanted to be remembered as she was described by those who knew her as having a round, childlike face that was always animated and vivacious, bright black eyes, pouting lips, dark chestnut brown hair, a slight lisp, a pale complexion, and a plump figure. Even when she was in her 20s, others reported that she did not look older than 15. Nor do we know if Virginia would have wanted to be remembered as owning the toy wine glass that survived her. Perhaps she would have wanted to be remembered for the nickname she gave herself as a child, Diddy, and for welcoming the company of children. As a teenager, Virginia is reported to have enjoyed swinging and jumping rope with neighborhood children. As she became a young adult, she was someone neighborhood children chose to visit. They would bring dolls and playthings, and Virginia would teach them to cut out and make dolls' dresses. A literary friend of Poe's, Mr. Clark, remembers bringing his daughter to visit Virginia. His daughter sang her a comic song, and Virginia is reported to have received it with peal after peal of merry laughter. Virginia was a dutiful daughter to her mother Mariah, helping her with sewing, which provided an income for them after her grandmother died, and they lost the pension they'd received because her grandfather served in the army during the American Revolution. Virginia never went to school, but was taught at home by her cousin Edgar after he came to live with them in 1833. It is unclear if Virginia would have wanted us to remember that after her grandmother died, Nielsen Poe, Edgar's cousin, offered to bring her into his family and care for her and offer her an education until she was 18. But instead of accepting Nielsen Poe's generous offer, her mother arranged for Virginia to marry Edgar. There may have been a secret marriage here in Baltimore, for which a license was issued on September 22nd, 1835. But there was definitely a marriage in Richmond, Virginia, with the Reverend Amos Converse officiating on May 16, 1836. Edgar was then 27 years old. Virginia was only 13 years old. Edgar, Virginia, and her mother continued to live together after that, moving from Richmond, Virginia to New York, then to Philadelphia, before returning to New York. Virginia helped Muddy, Edgar's nickname for Mariah, to keep house for her Edgar, whom she called Eddie, and he called Virginia Sissy. And she helped Edgar with correspondence. We do not know if Virginia would have wanted to be remembered for the perfume bottle, which survived the moves and outlived her. Perhaps she would remind us of the smell of the roses that she and her mother cultivated that brought her such joy. Virginia took delight in Katerina, nicknamed Kate, a large tortoiseshell cat that Edgar continued to care for after her death. And Virginia is reported to have loved candy. One of Virginia's talents was music. She was described as an accomplished musician on the piano and harp. So perhaps she would have hoped that the piano would have survived, which Edgar Allan Poe provided her, even though the family could really not afford it. Virginia had a beautiful singing voice, what one biographer called the voice of Saint Cecilia. In 1842, while singing, Virginia ruptured a blood vessel in her throat, the first prominent sign of her infection with tuberculosis. In the 5 years of illness that followed, she was remembered for her merry laughter, cheerfulness, lightheartedness. She was remembered for her good humor, even when rumors swirled that Poe was having an affair with Mrs. Frances S. Osgood. Instead of being angry or jealous, Virginia copied one of Edgar's poems, To Frances S. Osgood, into her cousin Mary Herring's album in 1841. We do not know of any poetry Edgar addressed directly to his wife while she was alive. Just the opposite. We have a poem Virginia wrote to Edgar on February 14, 1846. Although some scholars say Virginia was not Poe's intellectual peer and did not care for poetry, one of the 4 remaining artifacts that we have from Virginia's life is this acrostic poem she wrote, which is in your program. Each line begins with a letter to spell out the name Edgar Allan Poe. And in this poem, Virginia expressed her yearning for a cottage away from the tattling of many tongues, where she and Edgar would be guided by love, where love would heal her weakened lungs, and where she and Edgar would be peaceful and blissful. Love did not heal Virginia's weakened lungs, and she died the following January. But love did surround her. Mr. Graham remembers how Edgar's love for his wife was a sort of rapturous worship of the spirit of beauty, which he felt was fading before his eyes. Mr. Graham continued, I have seen him hovering around her when she was ill, with all the fond fear and tender anxiety of a mother for her firstborn, her slightest cough causing in him a shudder, a heart chill that was visible. Mr. Graham concluded, I rode out one summer evening with them, and the remembrance of his watchful eye, eagerly bent on the slightest change of hue in that loved face, haunts me yet as the memory of a sad strain. Mrs. Shue, who cared for Virginia in her illness, remembered that on the day before Virginia died, she took a picture of her husband from under her pillow, kissed it, and gave it to Mrs. Shue. So what remains from Virginia's life is her post-mortem portrait, a toy wine glass, a perfume bottle, and a love poem she wrote to Edgar Allan Poe. But what endures are memories of her life that other people shared because of the impression she made on them, because of her devotion to her husband, and because she was the wife and muse of an author who became world famous. So 200 years after her birth, let us remember Virginia's love for family, for her cat, for sweet treats, for music, for neighbors, for children, and especially for her husband, her Eddie, her beloved Edgar Allan Poe. As we contemplate our own mortality and what we hope others will remember of us in over 100 years, may we be inspired by Virginia Eliza Clemm Poe's legacy of love.
Annabel Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never dreams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so, all the nighttide, I lay down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
I don't have the words to express how honored I feel that so many have come to celebrate my birthday. You might have heard of my husband. He's much better with words than I am. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here, but I will try to express my gratitude. Thank you. Truly, the only reason why I am considered remarkable in any way You see, my childhood was quite normal. Eddie didn't come to live with us until I was 8. And he captured my imagination. He was brilliant. He'd just come from West Point. He was very dashing, quite handsome. And as a child, I remember being so taken by his storytelling and by the way he could weave words into a beautiful tapestry.
I dwelt alone in a world of moan, and my soul was a stagnant tide, till the fair and gentle Eulalie became my blushing bride, till the yellow-haired young Eulalie became my smiling bride. Ah, less bright the stars of the night than the eyes of the radiant girl, and never a flake that the vapor can make with the moon tints of purple and pearl can vie with the modest Eulalie's most unregarded curl, can compare with the bright-eyed Eulalie's most humble and careless curl. Now doubt, now pain, come never again, for her soul gives me sigh for sigh, and all day long shines bright and strong, Astarte within the sky, while ever to her dear Eulalie upturns her matron eye, while ever to her young Eulalie upturns her violet eye.
I open my eyes to the colors of civilization, the city. Do you not agree, Julius?
Of course, milady.
I open my ears, too, to the sounds, the rhythm of the streets, conversation and music, laughter and song. Look! The locals are dancing! Let us behold the traditional sport.
Right you are, milady. Hi,
Who, me?
yes, looking shaky violet fun for the dance.
I think not, sir.
Come on and treat yourself.
My dancing days are past, sir.
You'll be in good hands. My hands. Unhampered, filthy wretch. Oh, your lost soupy stubs. Be off with you, or you shall feel my cane.
What did he say? Suki! I've never been so insulted in all my life. I can't even bear to utter it. What did he mean?
An insult from an uncouth wretch. That is all.
Yes, what? Oh, wretched man has left now. Julius, these streets are squalid, and this bucolic realm of home. Fields, orchards, lakes, my little hermit in his hut. What is that odor? Something's rank. Must be these common people.
Yes, no doubt, milady.
What shall we do? Retire in this malodorous place. I find myself quite melancholy.
Oh dear, how very regretful today.
Look! What a glorious clock! High upon the cathedral there!
Indeed, glorious, milady.
High away from squalor! A spiritual realm, far from the ignominy of the street. Let us ascend.
Are you sure, milady?
I beg your pardon, Julius.
Nothing, milady.
Senor. Padre! Your Reverence? No one here, Julius.
Yes, it would appear so, milady. My, what a magnificent example of architecture. And behold how the nave leads down to the chancel with such an exquisite sense of grandeur and gravitas. And above, the tasteful triforium running across your permission, can we not? If truth be told, I have such a horror of heights.
How absurd. Ridiculous. A fear of heights. Never heard of such a thing. Impossible. Up we go, Julius. There. The spiral staircase will take us to the heavens.
Very well. Very good, my lady.
Keep going, Julius. Nearly there.
Coming, my lady. Not too far behind you.
Is this it?
Yes, my lady. We cannot go up any further.
How in heaven's name am I supposed to see anything? It is so gloomy.
We are not supposed to be up here.
Look! A crack! A glimpse of azure sky! A window on the world for my benefit.
An aperture in the clock. Set it for maintenance, perhaps.
No, Julius, a window on the world. My window is too high to reach.
Time to go, my lady. We must have
No, kneel down here. I shall climb upon your back.
Are you sure?
At once. Very well. Bye-bye. Now stoop, Julius. Now straighten. I shall place my hand and my feet upon your shoulders. How wondrous!
Can you see, madam?
Oh, yes.
I'm pleased to hear it today.
See it? I can see the rolling hills beyond the city, the distant ocean, birds at flight, the city itself like a mountain below.
Here we go now.
Yes, I suppose. I'm tired of that. Julius?
Yes, my lady.
I appear to be stuck. I cannot extricate my head from you.
I see. Perhaps if I give you extra lift?
No, that is worse.
Maybe if I lower myself. Cannot go up or down. Side to side is not possible. And if I were to release you,
skies, they were ashen and sober. The leaves, they were crispin and sere. The leaves, they were withering and sere. It was night in the lonesome October of my most immemorial year. It was hard by the dim lake of Ober, in the misty mid-region of Weir. It was down by the dank tarn of Ober, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. Here once, through an alley titanic of cypress, I roam with my soul, of cypress with Psyche, my soul. These were days when my heart was volcanic, as the scoriac rivers that roll, as the lavas that restlessly roll their sulphurous currents down Yannick and the climbs of the boreal pole, that groan as they roll down Mount Yannick in the realms of the boreal pole. Our talk had been serious and sober, but our thoughts, they were palsied and sear. Our memories were treacherous and sere, for we knew not the month was October, and we marked not the night of the year. Ah, night of all nights in the year. We noted not the dim lake of Ober, though once we had journeyed down here. We remembered not the dank tarn of Ober, nor the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. And now, as the night was senescent, and the star dials pointed to morn, as the star dials hinted of morn, at the end of our path a liquescent and nebulous luster was born, out of which a miraculous crescent arose with a duplicate horn, Astartes, bediamonted crescent, distinct with its duplicate horn. And I said, she is warmer than Diane. She rolls through an ether of sighs. She revels in a region of sighs. She has seen that the tears are not dry in these cheeks where the worm never dies, and has come past the stars of the lion to point us the path to the skies, to the Lethean peace of the skies. Come up in despite of the lion to shine on us with her bright eyes. Come up through the lair of the lion with love in her luminous eyes. But Psyche, uplifting her finger, said, sadly the star I mistrust, her pallor I strangely mistrust. Oh, hasten, oh, let us not linger. Oh, fly, let us fly, for we must. In terror she spoke, letting sink her wings till they trailed in the dust. In agony sobbed, letting sink her plumes till they trailed in the dust, till they sorrowfully trailed in the dust. I replied, this is nothing but dreaming. Let us on by this tremulous light. Let us bathe in this crystalline light. Its Sibylic splendor is beaming with hope and in beauty tonight. See, it flickers up the sky through the night. How we safely may trust to the gleaming, and be sure it will lead us right. We safely may trust to a gleaming that cannot but guide us right, since it flickers up to heaven through the night. Thus I pacified Psyche and kissed her, and tempted her out of her gloom, and conquered her scruples and gloom. And we passed to the end of the vista, but were stopped by the door of a tomb, by the door of a legended tomb. And I said, what is written, sweet sister, on the door of this legended tomb? She replied, Ulalume, Ulalume, 'tis the vault of thy lost Ulalume. Then my heart grew ashen and sober, as the leaves that were crispin and sere, as the leaves that were withering and sere. And I cried, it was surely October, on this very night of last year, that I journeyed down here, that I brought a dread burden down here, on this night of all nights in the year. Oh, what demon has tempted me here? Well, I know now this dim lake of Ober, this misty mid-region of Weir. Well, I know now this dank tarn of Ober, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir.
Come rest in this bosom, my own stricken dear, though the herd have fled from thee, thy home is still here. Here still is the smile that no cloud can o'ercast, and the heart and the hand all they Oh, what was love made for, if it is not the same? Through joy and through torment, through glory and shame. I know not, I ask not, if love is in the heart. I but know that I love thee, whatever thou art. Thou hast called me thy angel in moments of bliss. Still thy angel I'll be mid the horrors of this. Through the furnace unshrinking, thy steps to pursue, and shield thee and save thee, or perish there too.
Thank you for watching. And if you have enjoyed this program, be sure to visit Poe Baltimore's YouTube and Facebook page video libraries to see some of the recorded content from our most poetical year of programs commemorating the 200th birthday of Virginia Eliza Clemm Poe, including graveside chats and discussion series. Be sure to subscribe or like our page to be notified about upcoming programs. Because our Virginia Poe programming continues. In October, the International Edgar Allan Poe Festival and Awards returns to Poe House in Baltimore. 2 days of books, music, art, and performances celebrating all things Edgar Allan Poe. Several Virginia Poe events are planned, including the Black Cat Ball at Westminster Hall. This year's official party is Gothic wedding themed to honor the eternal couple. Tickets include a special VIP ceremony to take your eternal vows of love in the famed catacombs with an undead officiant presiding. The Edgar and Virginia Poe Death exhibit will also open at Westminster Hall and Burying Ground, featuring death tableau from Edgar and Virginia's first funerals, including bodies in a casket. The exhibit also includes special memento mori collections of sentimental art and jewelry, with funerary mementos and mourning jewels made from human hair. For those who can't join in person, virtual programs are also available. Visit poebaltimore.org for details.